Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first ever Stump the Scriptmaster here at Ojo. My name is Jeremiah Taylor. I'm going to welcome you to what is going to be an amazing hour with some of the top real estate agents, team owners, and brokers in the country that are here to share insights on how to navigate this market, share scripts and dialogues, things that are working today in this market. So I see you're joining. I see people are flooding in the front door. So let's do what we do. And look at somebody's already beat me to it. Post where you're joining us from. Valerie's got the first one in there, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I got Portland. So if you're just joining us, welcome to our March Stump the Script Masters. My name is Jeremiah Taylor. I'm with Ojo. I love it. Everybody keep throwing them in there. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're joining from. I love that our West Coast friends are up early. It's 9 a.m., which only in real estate do we say 9 a.m. is early. Steamboat Springs, Kalamazoo, lots of Austin, Texas. That is great. Cool. All right. Again, welcome, folks. My name is Jeremiah Taylor. I'm with the Ojo team. Today, we're so excited to host Stump the Scriptmaster for you. It's the first time we're doing this. Thank you for everybody that posted in Facebook and gave us feedback on the questions. We've got an amazing panel for you today to share some of their best scripts and dialogues. And I'm not going to hold it up anymore. In fact, I'm going to introduce our moderator. We are super lucky to have Craig join us today as our moderator. So if you all don't know Craig Rieger, Craig is a 25-year industry vet. Craig and his team have sold over 5,000 homes. He's a broker owner of a brokerage that closes over $3 billion in annual sales volume. And he's the founder and owner of RCC Coaching. So Craig, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much for doing this today for our Ojo partners. The stage is yours, my friend.
Jeremiah Taylor, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Hey, I was wondering as you're throwing out the names, with anybody in from Hawaii? Like, in Hawaii, is it 6 a.m., 7 a.m.? I can't recall the time change, but that would be impressive. Yeah, thanks for the intro, Ojo. Thank you so much for hosting this. What a relevant topic in the craziness of the market over the last 3 years and even the last 60 days. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by our panelists this afternoon. Mr. Jeff Quinton is coming to us from the Jersey Shore. He also has teams in Philadelphia, Jupiter, Florida. On the Wall Street Journal, Jeff was ranked number 44 out of 1.2 million agents. He's an outstanding person, great team owner. He's somebody that well over a decade ago I was introduced to mentor under, and we're excited to hear your Stump the Scriptmaster scripts, Mr. Quinton. Next, we got Dave Z from the Valley in Arizona. Dave consistently ranks in the top 1% in the Valley. He's got a team approach. He has buyer's agents, showing agents, a full administrative team. But what I really appreciate about Dave is it just comes down to what we all care about, which is great customer service. And the team approach is not too big that the client gets lost. And he does an outstanding job, sells an absolute ton of homes. And he is an Ojo customer as well. So I'm excited to get his insights. And last but not least, right here in my hometown of Portland, Oregon, I've got Kendall Bergstrom. Kendall is a 21-year plus veteran in the Portland real estate markets. A few reasons to ask Kendall to join us today. A, she's just an incredible real estate agent, somebody I respect immensely. She brings a luxury flair to the panel. I must get an email a day in the Portland market from Kendall putting another $2, $3, $4, $5 million house on the market. And I think for so many of us in a scripting sense, we're not sure how to communicate with that type of client if we don't have the experience. And lastly, her business is nearly 100% repeat client referral. So it'd be great to hear objection handlers, because guess what? Repeat clients and referrals also have objections. So thank you to all the panelists for joining us today. So how we're going to run this is I've got some set questions I'm going to be reaching out to the panelists to answer. And for the audience, and we've got a large group on here, so thank you so much for joining. This is for you. Ojo put this together for you. So we want to hear what objections you're facing in your local market. Type them into the Q&A section. We will do our absolute best to monitor those, and we will pull as many of those as we can, ask them to the panelists, and give you the best objection handlers we can possibly come up with. So should we get started? Perfect. I got heads nodding. All right, well, let's start out with the big one, the elephant in the room, the change that started about this time last year, give or take a couple of weeks. And Dave Z, I'm going to start out with you. So interest rates are too high. I want to wait for them to come back down, right? We've all heard that from a dozen to 500 times over the last 9-10 months. How do you handle that one, Dave?
Yeah, good question. I like to just tell me more is a big phrase that I use on the phone with my team, with anybody. Like, okay, Craig, you want to wait till interest rates come down? Like, tell me more. What does that mean to you? What does that look like? I want to get an answer from them about what they feel like interest rates should be. So if I say, okay, what are we waiting for? Where is that need to be? So tell me more is something I've been using for 20 years in different iterations. Like, what does that mean? Explain that. And then once I get that answer, right. And so I'm a big believer in framework in your scripting. My next framework is always going to be if I would you. So I think if we can use that combination of tell me more and uncover what's really going on there. And then they give me that answer and they go, you know what, I think we want to wait till interest rates get back down to 5%. Okay, cool. So 5%. So let me ask you, if I could show you how I can get you a home at 5%, would you still want to move forward and buy a home? And if they say no, well, I know that's really not the issue. Okay, tell me more about that. Like, why would you just said we wanted to do 5%. I asked you if we can do it, you would buy it. And then let's interrogate what's really going on. But we found that to be very helpful because we can then go, you know what, we can get you 5%. And let me show you what that looks like with an interest rate buy down paid for by the seller. And most people haven't heard of that. So then again, I pose the question again. So if I could get the seller to use their money to buy that rate down to 5%, because that's what you're waiting for, and the perfect home hit the market, would we pass up on that opportunity? Would you let that go by? I'm talking the perfect home. And people say, no, maybe that's something we should consider. So using our prospects' fear and what they're worried about and like getting the information from them and using that back towards them, I find is the best script.
That's awesome, Dave. Tell me more. And I really like the follow-up to that. If I could, would you? Right? If I can get a seller to buy down your rate to 5%, would you? And there is some properties in our local market that's possible on. Really great. And Jeff, this is a big one. So I'm gonna if you're comfortable, how would you attack that one, Jeff? Anything different than what Dave shared? Hey, interest rates are too high. I'm gonna wait for them to settle down.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'm gonna find out a little bit more as what David had alluded to as far as tell me more, right? But I think what I'm gonna say is, what I'm hearing you certainly say is it's not so much about the interest rate; it's probably more about the payment that which you're going to actually pay. Is that right? And so most borrowers today are more concerned about their payment versus the rate. And so I want to basically get from them and say, well, ultimately, if it was the perfect rate, what would that rate look like? Well, let's just say in this case, what David said is, let's say it's 5%, right? Rates are 6.5%, and they would love to have a rate at 5%. And if their payment today is say, $2,000 a month, and the rate right now at 5% was $1,700 a month, we're really talking about a difference of $300 per month, right? So I'm going to break that down just a bit and find out and say, hey, look, is it more about the rate or is it more about the payment? Because see, if we were to buy this home today and the rate was 5%, your payment would be $1,700. Yes, today rates are higher, so your payment's $2,000. Now, I'm just curious to know, how long do you plan to own the home? Let's just say they, for example, they say 5 years, right? Maybe it's a step-up home or whatever it may be. I'll say, what would it look like right now if I got the seller to give you a credit back at closing for the amount of the difference in the payment? In other words, if it's $300 a month, it's called $3,600 a year. What if I could actually get them to give you 2, 3, maybe 4 years worth of the difference in the payment? So ultimately, instead of say you pay $400,000 for the home, we get them to give you a credit at $15,000 back. Now you're paying actually $385,000. The $15,000 represents almost 5 years worth of the payment difference. And then meanwhile, between now and say in the next 2-3 years, if rates come down, which we hope they will, from 6.5 back into that, say 5% rate, we'll just go ahead and refinance it. And then you'll have a fixed rate from that point forward, but yet have the benefit of the seller actually giving you a credit back at the difference between the rate that you want versus where they are. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense to me, Jeff. That is nothing short of brilliant. And I've actually never heard that one before. Like, truly that simple. For a $300 difference, and that's $3,600 a year. If I can get the seller to give you $10,000, I've covered 3 years of that. Now we've got it. It's awesome. Awesome. I know we've got a couple of folks here. It looks like Michael and Thomas. They're in the chat and they're like, hey, things are changing out there though, right? We're back into competitive situations. We're back into multiple offers in many parts of the country, many markets in the country. Can we do rate downs? Can we get buyers to give credits? Maybe, maybe not in your local market, Michael. Like maybe, maybe not. At the end of the day, we're going to give the best objection handlers we possibly can, and we're also, before this hour ends, we're gonna chime in on the fact that the market has changed. We're back into competition in May market. So thank you for bringing that to light. Kendall, I'm gonna move over to you as we're kind of on the buyer side here. Qualifying. Right, we've got buyers that want to see properties before they get qualified for a loan. We have buyers who are dead set to use their sister's best friend's brother that somebody in the family did a refinance through 9 years ago. So when you got a buyer that says, no, I just want to look at properties, I'm really stable financially, and when I find the right property, I'll go and work on getting pre-qualified. How do you overcome that objection, Kendall? Uh-oh, we had something change. Oh, Kendall, you're muted.
There we go.
There we go. Winning.
There we go. Such a good question. I always start with, I just say, hey, this is such a learning experience. So let's start with the first thing you do that makes this whole process so fun, because it should be fun, is to sit down with your lender. I do this all day long. I have 3 favorite vendors that I use consistently. These are the people that you want to be talking to get in front of. Let's start there, because once you know, in this volatile market with interest rates going up and down, once you understand where your monthly payment's going to be, given what you're going to be putting down, and options to buy that rate down if you're not comfortable with it, then it's fun. Then you're shopping. So let's not start with going shopping. Let's start with figuring out what your budget is for the shopping spree. And then we go out and have a blast, because there will always be a home out there that will be right. And when you start with the end in mind, that's the most appropriate approach.
I love it. Dave Z, I just want to see some properties, and when I find the right one, then I'll sit down and talk to a lender.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. And that it's fun. It's a lot of fun to look at properties, and this may go against the grain. I'll actually do it. So for those of you out there that say they won't do it, I will, but I'll put a limit on it. But if I'm trying to build rapport with somebody and it's not working, I don't want the friction there, because I actually want to sell them a home. So I will do it, and I'll put a number on it of how many homes we'll show. But eventually we'll have that question and say, listen, this is a huge, huge purchase. This is probably the biggest purchase you're making. And this process favors the prepared. You will do so much better if we're prepared. And what that looks like is we're going to start down, like Kendall said, we're going to begin with the end in mind, and we're going to go through what you qualify for, what you want the payment to be. It's fun looking at properties, but it's a lot more fun when we know we can afford it. When you walk in that home, here's what I want for you. If we sit down with our lenders, I want you to walk in that property and go, okay, this is $1,836 a month. Got it. I want you to know exactly what that payment's going to be for you and not for somebody else, and just have a ballpark figure. And then I go back to that phrase, would that be helpful if, when we went out and looked at properties, you had a crystal clear price of what that home would look like on a monthly? Would that be helpful? Would that remove some of the doubt and confusion in your mind? And my scripts always end up with, would that be helpful? And then I let them tell me it won't be.
Really good.
Which they're not going to. No, that won't be helpful. So that's how I handle that.
It was all incredible. This process favors the prepared. And that wrap up to each thing, this would be helpful. Absolute gold. Absolute gold. Are any of you using buyer agency as consistently in your business?
No.
Perfect. Dave, I agree with what you shared, especially on a web lead, like an Ojo type lead. We received a connection with a consumer. I am very much in alignment with you with my own personal business, my team, go and show a few properties. At the same time, we are immediately pre-qualifying. How long have you lived in the Valley? Where do you work at? How long have you been there? What are you considering as a down payment when you do meet with that lender and find the perfect property? So I'll get I'll get enough info from them out of that process that I feel comfortable having myself or my team show them a small handful of properties, build the trust, form a relationship, and then move very directly to establishing that pre-approval relationship. So I don't disagree. I would just, on my side, I'd add in, we can still lob over some general pre-approval questions. Okay, you don't have a job, you just moved here, you want to put 0 down. Like maybe we shouldn't see homes yet. Really good, really good.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Craig, like I think there's too much friction in the process, and that's why consumers get frustrated with realtors. There's friction. And if it's a web lead like Ojo, the first thing I say to an Ojo lead is when I see a property come over and say, hey, Craig, Ojo just connected us. I see they sent me over a home on 5th Street. Did you want to go look at that property? That's just, that relieves so much. The sales guard, I think, just falls down when you just say, did you want to go see that property? And they usually are like, yeah, I do. Great. When did you want to go see it? 3 o'clock today. That's perfect. That works for us.
Well, if you think about it, Dave, you're catering to what the 2023 consumer wants. We're in a high demand world. We can push a button and have an Uber pick us up in 5 minutes.
Yep.
We can push a button and have a package on our porch by Amazon within 6 to 24 hours. And they pushed a button and frankly, they want to see a home. So I love that your opening script. When would you like to go see it? Because that's essentially what they're asking for. Everything else can fall into line afterwards. Jeff, we all want to do more listings. We all want to dominate the listing market. There's low inventory, but regardless of market conditions, being a listing agent is a very happy place to be for a real estate agent. And we get these online leads or potentially referrals. How do you immediately start seeking out if it's a potential seller? Like, do you have a script of, I know, Ray, if we piggyback from where Dave started, I want to show you this home. How do you determine and lead that into a listing appointment if they're a property owner?
Yeah. So if it's someone that's looking to buy, but they have to sell, you mean?
Yeah.
How do we determine that?
They haven't really said they have to sell. You've been connected through Ojo, and you're immediately looking for that listing opportunity. I think so often we get these connections and we don't even realize that we have a potential seller on the other side of this.
Right. First I'm going to obviously ask them, do you currently own a property right now? Right? Do you currently own a home? And then I'm going to ask them about, well, how long have they owned the home or how long they lived at this address? And then ultimately I'm going to find out, hey, if they were to move, where they'd want to go next. And ultimately, do they have any idea what they may be able to get for their home? Right. So I'm going to go through and ask a certain amount of questions just to try to figure out, are they motivated? Right? Are they a seller? Are they a potential seller? Maybe they're just looking to buy another additional property, but maybe they don't know how much they can get for their home right now. Or ultimately, if we could get them the right price, would it make them a seller? Right. So I'm going to ask those questions. Once it's revealed to me they own a home and I know that they have a property, then I'm going to go ahead and dig a little further and just go ahead and find out, if you were to sell, where would you go next? Do you have any idea what it's worth? If I get you the right price, would you consider, ultimately, if I could bring you a certain net, would you actually consider getting it on the market? Like, I'm going to go through and ask them a bunch of different questions to see ultimately if they're ready to get on the market, or maybe they're just, hey, I'd sell if you brought me a buyer kind of thing. I don't know. So I want to dig a little bit deeper and try to find out if they're truly ready to sell.
I love it, Jeff. In that simplest form, piggybacking about what you and Dave shared in my intake questionnaire for a lead I don't know. And of course, I agree with Dave. I just want to show them the house. That's where I'm going to build a rapport. And by the way, consumers, so the proven stat, consumers are 300% more likely to work with you if you meet them face to face. 300% more likely, and working with us in our industry means we ultimately get a commission check and hand them keys. So I love that. And when I meet them face to face, it's one of the questions I lob over is, do you have a home you need to sell to be able to buy? Do you have a home you need to sell to be able to buy? Like, I want to determine that in the first 5 minutes of shaking their hand when I'm touring that property. Kendall, I know that you're a really, really dominant listing agent here in the Portland market. And something we're seeing locally and nationally is there's a group that would like to have a new property. Maybe they've had a reload, maybe they've had a divorce, or maybe they want to downsize, or maybe they have a growing family. They have a need for a different home. Yet the objection is, I'd love to buy a new house, but my current interest rate is really great. How do you overcome that objection? They're locked in at a 2.8.
I think it really comes down to what they truly desire. just sitting down with these clients and just saying what is more important. I understand, your interest rate is great. My husband and I just moved 2 years ago and we have like 2.75. So I feel it. I feel that. But at the end of the day, if we really wanted to move, I try to take it personally, I guess, like, what would I do? And I look at them and just say, what is it that you really want? Yes, you have an insane interest rate. When I got into this business, it was 14.5%. Today, it's about 6.5%. It's going to be between 6 and 7. Let's just call it what it is in 2023. It may still be a little volatile. So what is it that you really want? Do you really want to live on the lake, on Maine waterfront? Do you really want to move to the mountains? Do you want to have that oceanfront home? Because I think that when you really tap into people's desire and authentically care about where they're going, it opens up this freedom for them to talk about what they really want. And then it leads to, are you ready financially to do that? So are you emotionally and financially ready to really do that? Is it really something that you want to do? Or can you look at yourself and say, right now my interest rate is great. Let's make a plan for 24 months from now. But if you're ready to go and this is what you really want, just be so grateful for the time that you had mortgage payments down at 2.25 or whatever. And we'll figure out a way to get you your best rate on your next investment, to get you bring more of a life purpose into it.
I love it, Kendall. What I'm hearing is something I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors and coaches. Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. So the logic is, hey, I've got a 2.8 and current rates are 6.5. That's the logic. The emotion is, do you want to be on the water? Do you need more bedrooms for your growing family? The emotion is what makes you act, and you're immediately digging into that emotion. Really good. Let's stick with the seller side for a few more minutes. All the other agents are offering lower commission than you are, Dave. Will you lower yours?
Oh, that's a great question. I love talking about commission because that is my income. So there's nothing more that I like talking about than my income. So I'm glad you brought that up. So let's talk about commissions. Craig, what do you know about real estate commissions?
I know that you're saying X, and the other agent that I interviewed last night is willing to do it for 1.5% lower. That's how much I know.
Okay, but how much we keep and how it works? How familiar are you with that process?
Not.
Yeah, and that's fair. Most people aren't. So most sellers just kind of think this is just a big, they hear the word commission, maybe they think it is like extra income, like a spiff, like a bonus. Well, here's what commission is. That is our income after all of our expenses that we put out up front to market your home, to sell your home, to get you the most amount of money. That's what we get at the end, but we don't get anything up front. So how much do you think is appropriate for commission? What are you looking for? You said somebody was asking 1.5% less than what I'm charging. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that feels really good to me.
Okay. And so your home, I know your home's 500,000 is kind of where we think it's at. So let's do this. Let me ask you this. If I were to beat that, would you want to work with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
Okay. Here's how we can do that. Do you have your checkbook with you?
No, I pay online.
No. Okay. If you could give me a check today and I'll cash it for a little bit less than that other person, would that be fair?
I see where we're going with this, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to do that, Craig, but the reason I bring that up is because most people in their occupations, they get paid upfront, right? You typically pay upfront for your services. A little bit different aspect in real estate commissions, we get paid at the end. So I'm actually not asking for your money up front, but I just kind of wanted to highlight that we don't get paid whether this goes through or not. So here's what I can do that I'd like to show you is let's look in real time that agent that you're talking to, and then let's compare it to me. If I could show you that you might be giving up $10,000 to work with that agent, and I can show you that, would that be something you would want to look at and consider? Absolutely. I'm not saying that's the case, but if we pull up the stats in our MLS and say, hey, this agent, Jeff Quinton, is that who you're working with? Maybe.
I've heard of the guy. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So if we can show that in his career, now I've been doing this 20 years, and I can show you that this is factual. In my career, out of 1,300 listings, my clients get a 100% of what we list for, 100%. And that is consistent through 19 years. If I could show you that you're going to get what we list for versus maybe discounting it, and then I have a funny feeling that maybe Jeff sells for about 97%. That's kind of what the average here is in Scottsdale. So 3% on your home is about $15,000. And I think Jeff's a great guy, but he might just be a discount broker, right? So if we could show you that, I mean, really what I think you're after, and my job when you're hiring me to negotiate for your home is to get you the most amount of money. Is that fair? Is that what you're looking for?
100%.
Or one of the things you're looking for? So what's more important? A little bit less of commission, but you maybe say you net 15 grand less, or 15 grand more and paying the appropriate commission? What is more important to you?
Excellent. I love it. I love it. You're isolating, you're comparing your service, your value, your track record. Really good, Dave. Really good.
Now, one thing I did early in my career, if you don't have that track record, is I did a guaranteed program and said, if I can't sell your home for 500,000, I'll take the cut that you're asking me to make. I'll put my money where my mouth is, right? I golfed in school. If you won the golf tournament, you made all the money. If you lost, you made nothing. So how about I will match Jeff's commission, but if I can get you more than what we're thinking, you pay me the commission that we're asking for, but I'll put my money where my mouth is, and I'll reduce it if we can't get it. And I think that's a great way to grow your listing business if you don't have a good track record.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. I'm not against that whatsoever. And what I might add to that is we're reverse engineering that on our team. And we are good. I've seen comments like, hey, in my market, 50 offers is back to being not uncommon. We're seeing that type of surge. I don't think any of us expected that, but here it is, locally and nationally in many markets. And I'll reverse engineer and say, sure, my standard rate, let's say for my team in Portland, Oregon is 6%, and I'm absolutely can't move this client off 5.5%. And I'll say, look, 500,000, fantastic. What if we get multiple offers? I get you above 525. Would we agree? I'll do it at 5.5% at 500 or below, or 500, 525. Anything above 525, it goes back up to 6. And I've never had anybody say no to that in the market that we're entering back into. I probably have a 75% probability of getting above 525. Kendall, and I'm really curious to hear this because I'm actually going to have this conversation with a client of mine in Bonnie Slope, Portland, Oregon, right after this webinar. Kendall, I don't want to lower my price. Let's give it some more time. The right buyer is going to come along. How do you overcome that, Kendall?
I overcome it in the listing appointment. So we talk about strategy and pricing. So much like commission, we cover this in the listing appointment. So what I typically do, number one, I need to know about that Bonnie Slope listing, please, when after this phone call. So what I do is when I'm giving my price report, and I'm talking about the marketplace, and we're in a marketplace in Portland, Oregon, especially Bonnie Slope, where it's still competitive. So I like to price right where I think the market's going to, what the market's going to bear, rooted in pure data. There will be some, and it's a neighborhood that has lots of comps that are going to be like-minded. So what I say is, hey, this is where I would price it. And given a weekend on the marketplace, this is where I think we're going to be. I think we're going to get multiple offers, and we'll probably be about 50K higher. I wouldn't price it higher at this price because then people will question, oh God, I don't know if it's going to be 50 worth more of that. But if you price it right where you think it's going to sell, then people will likely want to have multiple offers. Would you guys be happy, given the data of the 3 homes that just sold within, half a mile that are in similar condition, getting that exact, right where I think it's going to be? I think it's going to be, 682.5. Let's price it right. How do you feel about going 682.5 versus 699? I think we're going to get 725 versus 750. Does that make sense to you? And given the breadth of data that we bring, and having seen all the homes on the market and having gone into all of them, if you've done your homework as a realtor and gone into all those homes, they understand that you really know every single home, and that if you're emphatic on your pricing in the listing appointment, then it's, you know, they understand that, hey, this is the strategy. And for some reason, if they are, you know, so this is the strategy. And I would say 80% of clients are saying, great, kind of let's go with that strategy. If there is a 20% group, there is going to be 20% that will say, you know, we just want to go a little bit higher. These are the people that may have a little bit more time, especially in March, as we're leaning into a summer marketplace. I'll say, hey, let's go for it. Let's go for it. You've seen all the data. We're on the same team. And speaking to kind of friction, you know, if you price it within a 25K window, it's not like you're talking 100K in you know, a 20% delta, let's say. But if you're within, you know, if they really want to go a little higher, then I will say, let's go for it. What do you guys think about going for it for 30 days and getting all the feedback from, you know, every feedback? We're going to call you and let you know exactly what people are thinking. And if it hasn't sold by 30 days in this hot market with low inventory, let's get it right back down to where we need to be. If not, maybe 2,500 less.
Love it. You're setting it up at the presentation, overcoming the objection, and having a plan in place if it doesn't work. Really good. Thank you, Kendall. Jeff, let's move back to the buyer side. So as we're seeing in the comments, and all of us are experiencing in our businesses, and we could not be spread further apart from the tip of the West Coast to all the way on the East Coast on the Jersey Shore, Jeff. The market is definitely swinging back to low inventory, competitive market for buyers. And we're at the table. I'm the buyer. You're about to prepare the offer. We're talking through, there's 4 offers on the property. And you're explaining to me that I need to come in X above asking. And I refuse to do it. It's like, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I just feel more comfortable at full price. How do you overcome? How do you explain why multiple offers and coming up above and potentially waiving or shortening contingencies is necessary again in this market?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, it all starts in the pre-qual, right? And it's setting up and future pacing and what to expect. And one of the documents we have right now is we have 10 ways to win multiple offers, okay? And we provide that to our buyers. So there's 10 different strategies in all of those things to win when there's multiple offers there. So we're going to provide that up front, future pace them, and explain to them all these 10 things if they truly want to win and get the property. You know, if a seller or a buyer ultimately is resisting the fact, like, I don't want to go above asking price, I'm not willing to do that. You know, unfortunately, in this market today, we're probably not going to work with them. You know, we're only going to show them the properties that make sense to them, that meet all their needs, their wants, and is priced really right. And sometimes the properties are priced even below market, which therefore obviously is bidding them up. So we're going to have a kind of a future pace conversation with them, let them know that it's expected right now in the market. If we show them something that's really, really good, that meets all that they're looking for, with inventory being so low, that the property might just go ahead and get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offers right now. And then ultimately, if they want to win, right, then here are the things we need to do. So, for example, we're going to explain to them that we're going to have to remove their mortgage contingency completely. And I can still get a mortgage, but we're just going to remove it from there. So therefore, we have to make sure you're 100% pre-qualified, you're comfortable with all that. We're going to put forth a initial deposit, a second deposit, maybe we'll let that be released to the seller in advance. We're going to write, you know, a heartfelt, you know, emotional letter to them. We're going to remove the home sale or home inspection contingency. We're going to go through all of these things there if they truly want to win. And my team and I, we come from a place right now, you know, with regards to buyers in this circumstance, like, we're going to be straight up with them. And sometimes it's a way that we talk to them like, look, you know, if you truly want to win, right? And let me ask you, do you like to win or like to lose? You tell me, because if you truly want this house and you want to get it, we will tell you exactly what needs to happen, how to do it, the strategy behind it that will get you the house. I know for sure. But if you're not willing to do the things that we know that will work, you're not going to get the house. You're going to lose. You got to make a decision. You're a winner or you're a loser. Like that's the conversation. Like when it gets to that point, because otherwise we will be wasting our time, right? With someone that is resistant, that we know that right now the house is listed for $599. You know, we know it's really priced well. There's going to be 6 offers on it. It's probably going to sell for $630 or $650. And the guy's like, no, I'm not escalation clause, or I'm not going to do any of that. You know, I'll give them their asking price. Well, we just know right now that that's not going to do what it takes. And, you know, the reality of this is this, in my opinion, what I've learned over my years is we take a buyer out, we show them a home, they make an offer, they don't get it. Okay. So they don't get it. Now you have to regroup. go back out, show them a home, make an offer. They don't get it because they are just resistant to whatever it is. They aren't willing to do what it takes. The reality is over time, their confidence in us as an agent representing them goes down. The more homes you show, the more offers you write, the less chance they get a home, their confidence goes down. And ultimately what happens is the third time, fourth time, next thing you know, they're like thinking, oh, you can't get me a house, right? So, setting the stage up front in the buyer consultation to know and expect what it needs, you got to be straight up with these guys right now. That's just our approach right now. We're very forward in understanding this is how our clients are winning. This is how our buyers are getting the homes. And I can also tell them stories, right? I'll sell through a story about this buyer right now, had the same resistance that you didn't want to overpay. And yet looking back a year later, they did win the property. They had to pay $30,000 above asking. They went and did all the things right now they're uncomfortable doing, and they got it. And now today the home's worth $700,000, right? If they hadn't done those things, they wouldn't have the equity they built, and they wouldn't be in their dream home because the next one along the way is $700,000. And let me just add this. What I know about this is the fact that all of the reasons why a buyer doesn't want to do those things, like the more uncomfortable they are, is the exact reasons of what they're uncomfortable with is what needs to happen to get them the house. For example, I'm not willing to remove the mortgage contingency. I'm not willing to do that. Okay, good. I understand you're not, and I appreciate that. Understood. And yet someone else is going to be willing to do that. And that may be the exact right now reason why you're not willing to do it on what has to happen to get you the home. Like all the reasons why they resist sometimes are the exact reasons why they'll actually get it. And it's just explaining through that process.
Pure gold, Quentin. I think John H., you can drop the mic at asking a client, this is a script, right? Do you like to win or do you like to lose? What a great opening to that conversation. Absolutely outstanding. Dave Z, 15% conversion on Ojo leads, stud, amazing. And we get this really, really common back in the market we've entered into where homes are actually selling again at a really rapid clip. Oh, it's pending. I only want to see this house, Dave. I'm set. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Right. So that's going to happen consistently. You get a lead, and by the time you pull it up on the MLS, it's pending. And the consumer says, I'm good. It was just that one home I wanted to see. Where do you go with that?
I go back to okay, tell me more. What caught your eye on that property? And then have them tell me about that property. And offering. So I've, as you're telling me about this property, I know of another home very similar to that. If it's very, very similar, is there any reason you would not want to go see that property?
Gold.
And just throw that back to them. And they go, no, it was just that property. That might be true, Craig. They might be like spying on their neighbor. Like they're, you know what I mean? Like sure. If you're converting 15%, that means 85% you're not going to convert. And I'm not saying we don't try, but sometimes there's just no logic to it. It's like, no, that was the only home. Tell me more about that. Like what's really going on? Because I think there are other homes out there. So it's doing it without any friction. And I don't tell people homes are pending. I just don't. And I might be wrong for that, but my belief is I've been doing this 19 years. I've helped a lot of people. And if we go meet them at the property that's pending and say, listen, Craig, this property is pending, but I'm here. And I know there's a home two blocks over that I think might work for you. Let's go take a look at it. If I were in a different part of the country and I wanted to go see a home and somebody did that for me, I'd be appreciative of it, right? Like they're the local expert. I thought I wanted this home. And like when we vacation, sometimes we want to go look at homes. And if somebody were to drive out and meet with me and then go show me another home and give me a packet, I would be super appreciative. So don't be afraid to go out and show a property that's pending or meet them there. I mean, I've been guilty of that. I've been waiting in front of them by my car and they pull up and I'm like, guys, we can't see this home.
Really good. Two other pieces of gold in there. The tell me more. Tell me more. It's a consistent script. You said you've been using it for all 19 years. And then the follow-up to that was, if I can find you a similar home, very similar home, is there any reason you wouldn't want to see it? Like I immediately just want to answer, well, of course I'd want to see it. Awesome.
Well, most people want to say no, right? So most people, when they're talking to a salesperson, want to say no. So phrase it in a way where a no is a win. Is there any reason you wouldn't want to see it?
The
No.
wouldn't is the gold there. If you just said, if I find you another home, would you like to see it? No, we're good. I've already said no twice now. Is there any reason you wouldn't want to see it? The natural answer to that
No.
is leading me down a path to yes. So good. So good. We got a great question from Andrea that I think is extremely appropriate. And it is a script. It should be a script. There's a tremendous amount of buyers that backed out of the market last year. They just paused. Well, my team, the expression they used is they ghosted us, right? We had a relationship. We showed them a few properties. Maybe they'd even met with our preferred lender. Things were going well. And then suddenly they just stopped responding. Not a huge surprise when interest rates go up 3% in 90 days. We ran a report in my own company in February of our last 20 escrows. The average escrow, we'd shaken hands first time with that consumer 165 days ago. So that group is re-entering the market. Mr. Quinton, back to you. And I'd love to get Kendall's on this as well, if you're comfortable. What is your best script, email, text, phone call of re-engaging somebody that ghosted you in June?
Yeah. So are we talking about the buy side or seller side?
Buy side specifically.
Buy side. I would say, again, let's look at a script, a text. Okay. It's very simple. It'd be like, hi, first name, right? So hi, Craig. I would say something like, right now, are you still in the market to buy a home this spring? Very simple. I just want to know, are they still in the market? Yes or no, right? The shorter the text can be and the more direct it can be, the better the response is going to be. Now, obviously, they write back, yes. Okay, good. Now I'm going to call them. We're going to get them on the phone. We're going to get back and re-engage them to see if they're back in the market or not. But it's just going to be very simple. Are you still in the market to buy a home this spring?
I want to land on the brilliance of that. People are like, no, that would never work. I had a coach about 15 years ago. At that point, I was buying these horrible web leads from some company that since went out of business. And I have like 10,000 in my CRM. And my coach just simply said, and we'd lost contact with all of them. And my coach simply said, why don't you send every single one of them a text and just say, hey, do you have any intention of buying a home in the next 30 days?
Yeah.
You text 10,000 people. Yeah. And
yeah, I would add on to it too. You could say like, if yes, can we set an appointment this week?
That easy. Yeah. Are you interested in buying a house this spring? What a great text. I think sometimes we overthink when we write this novel and they open it up and I'm like, who's this from? And why is this so long? Kendall, anything you do to re-engage some of the folks that you've been in relationship with and then they just kind of disappeared last year?
Yeah, I think I come at it because of, just by working by referral. I am in touch with them pretty regularly, twice a month from just kind of outreach, and then once a quarter by a phone call. And so it's not really ghosting, but it's more what you just said. It's re-engaging, and it's, it's a conversation on how are you doing? What a year. We all weathered it. Thank God it's 2023. Talk to me about where you are now. Are you ready to launch into that, the sale of your home again? Are you ready to launch into the buy side? How can I help you start down that road if this is one of your real estate goals for 2023? And if it's not, if it's 2024, as we discussed, or there's some kind of history there that we can tap into, how can I help support you in that today? And they're just happy that you called. They're thrilled that they have a realtor who's thinking about them. And it's just an open-ended question. And they usually say, you know what, we decided not to because of this. College was more expensive. The market is dead. We lost a lot in stock market. They just, if you leave it a little open-ended, they just start talking.
Outstanding.
Craig, I'll add, if I can add something here. Also, to get a little bit more, urgency out of it, I'll have two for you. Another text we will send is something like, hey, Craig, it's Jeff at KW. We have another seller that just reduced their price, this past weekend or yesterday, and they are looking for an offer. Would you be in the market to come see the home? That's it. Like, we're going to give them, we have a seller just reduced and they're looking for an offer. Can you get together this week to come see it? Right? Very short. The seller side, I'll just throw this in here. Another home just sold in your neighborhood that may affect your price. Would you like an updated valuation?
Awesome.
Everybody raises their hand. Yeah, sure. Right? But it gets you engaged again. Just short little text like that. We do a lot of that.
I like that you keep it simple. I like that you keep it short. I think so frequently, as we're a coaching company here, RCC is, and we'll have a client that we're working with, a realtor, and it's like, well, I sent 9 texts today. It's like, cool. And we read the text and they're a mile long, and it took so long to craft them. Yet with what you're doing, it's so simple, Jeff. It's so repetitive. In that same amount of time, it takes 9 long texts to be sent, which I probably won't get a response from. If I can fire out 50 of those quick ones, there's a much higher probability somebody's gonna say, timing's perfect. I'm so glad you reached out. I'd love to connect with you. How's tomorrow too? Like, it truly is that simple. We overcomplicate it. Dave, back to you, right? Like the Ojo Master 15% conversion, absolutely amazing. And I appreciate what you shared. That means there's 85 that didn't buy, right? It's a lot of relationships you got to sort through to get to that 15%. Dave, I met a few different agents. I think I've got one. I'm good. Right? If you get an online consumer, this is probably not the first button they push to tell me more or see this home. It's common. They've gone to some open houses potentially. So, Dave, I think I've already got a realtor. I've met a few people.
All right. All right, Craig, tell me about that. I mean, I want to do far less talking right now. And I think when I've listened to a lot of calls in my time. I'm sure you listened to far more calls than I have. Most realtors talk way too much and they assume way too much. All right. So you got a realtor. Tell me a little bit about that, and tell me why we're talking. And I'll put that back on them. Like, why are we talking? And it's usually going to be, in my experience, well, my realtor's at his job. Like, I literally had that call the other day. My realtor's at his job. Okay. You're at his real estate job? No, at his job. Okay. Would it be helpful if you had a full-time realtor with staff to help you and you could see a home 24/7 on demand? Would that be helpful? Or is this a realtor that you're committed to no matter what?
Pure gold, Dave. From my experience and the way I grew up, and Kendall and I grew up at the same company with a phenomenal owner, Mr. Mike Hassan, and the rules and the way he taught us to the business. It's like, I'm not in the business of taking business from another agent, just not. And I know Kendall and all of us are in that same vein. Yet at the end of the day, the tell me more, why are we talking? It's so good. And from my experience, what I'll hear when I ask those questions is, well, they set me up on a search. I met them in open, they set me up at a search, which really is one of the most unnecessary things on the planet right now, because there's a million ways that the buyer can do their own search. And that's their agency relationship. They met somebody in open, they got some minimal search criteria and set them up on a search, and they've never talked to him since. So I love where you expand on it. Tell me more. Why are we talking? How's it going with that realtor? You bring it back to them. Let's go to Kendall, the absolute listing expert on the planet. And Kendall, I do have a home to sell. I'm the consumer, and I really don't want to put it on the market until I purchase a property. But you already know that I'm incapable of buying that property on the water until I get the equity and close on my current home. How do you overcome that?
Okay, say the last part. They can buy their home?
I cannot. I do not have enough money to buy this new property until I pull the cash out of my current property. But I'm not willing to list my property until I find that dream home.
I would just be upfront with them and let them know. And this is, again, a regional answer. So in our marketplace, the market inventory is so low. So I'm going to likely know what that person's looking for. And the inventory is so skinny, it's likely going to be a competitive market. So I would just have a really thoughtful, sincere conversation to say, guys, that's going to be really tricky. You know why? Because let me talk about the last 4 things that just sold. This one sold in 5 days. You guys, I know the listing agent. I called them last night. There were 7 offers. So we need to get to a place where you are prepared to sell your home. Think about a temporary move. Make sure that you have the cash close to funds. If you have a temporary move, we need to really, let's start with the end in mind, reverse engineer what your goal is to really get you there, because we're not going to get anywhere or it's going to take a long time. And I think you're going to get super frustrated in this market. The more realistic we can be right now about how to get from A to Z, the better. And there's no one more on this planet that wants to get there with you than me. So let's just figure this out. You're looking in this neighborhood, so I think we just start with a conversation and be super authentic, because in our market, it is really unlikely. I mean, I haven't written a contingent offer other than the contingency out to close, but a sale and contingency in years, it just hasn't happened. Does that answer your question?
1,000,000%. Absolutely. Mr. Quinton.
Hey, Craig, can I jump in on that?
Yeah,
real
please.
quick?
Dave. Of course.
And it is regional, right? And so Phoenix, Scottsdale, we get everybody, I think, first or early on, right? We get a lot of these products and programs, but I've been doing a buy before you sell for 3 years now. And so I would encourage everybody to figure out a solution for that says, great, you want to go buy. There's multiple companies out there that can help that process. There's Up Equity, there's Home Light, there's other companies that will say, hey, yeah, we can do a dual move and let's go buy that home before you sell and get the equity pulled out. And so I do think that's a better way to do real estate, and you'll unlock a lot of clients if you say, if you could move first and then sell later. And oh, by the way, you're gonna save about 5% on the purchase, and you'll make about 5% more on the sell side. The way we do these things, would that be something you're interested in doing? And so, figure out the buy before you sell solution in your market. I think that's really key to differentiate yourself.
And every market has those. Now, obviously in Phoenix, that was the foundation of those types of products, and it has spread throughout the rest of the country. Nia asked in the question section, do you find better responses with text or emails? I'll field that one. Nia, I would say it's all the above. Right. If you're only communicating with a potential lead or client in one form of communication, the odds are that it's not going to resonate. But if you consistently have a text program where you're reaching out via text, you've got an email program, you've got a phone call program, and in some combination, you're going to resonate with that client. You're going to be there at the right time and provide the right value when they're ready to respond. So I would encourage anybody to have a system with a lead of hitting with all 3 different channels. And the client will tell you, they'll respond to the one that they're most comfortable and excited to do. I want to switch gears, and Dave brought us down this road. I'll bring it to Jeff first. I don't want to deal with showings, repairs. I don't want to deal with that, which is a tremendous amount of work for a client, dogs, pets, kids, prepping the house every single day. Good news, if we're back in a hot market, the property's selling rather quickly. But it's still a lot of work for a seller. So I don't want to deal with showings and repairs. I'd rather not list on the market. Where do you take that, Jeff?
Well, I mean, in our market, we ultimately don't have the cash buyer, iBuyer, programs aren't here, right? So ultimately, can we also bring in investors and offer them a cash deal? For sure. Give them the options of, well, we have a couple options. One is we certainly can bring you a cash buyer, and this is what the number looks like. We can put it on the open market and get it, on the market and get you a regular buyer and that may take you in the next 2-3 weeks to make happen. We can bring you an iBuyer right in here, or a cash buyer. It's as is, no nonsense, easy. You pick the closing date. But Mr. Seller, you have to understand that because of the inconvenience of which you think it may be with the pets showing and the repairs, then certainly because of that, we do have buyers that will buy your home, but ultimately they will be buying it at a certain discount off market, right? And that could be as much as 20-25% less. So Mr. Seller today, a couple options. One is we can put it on the open market for $599, right? And possibly get a buyer to pay $599 or close to it in the open market because inventory is low. But if you wanted a quick, easy, no nonsense, type of deal, we could bring a cash buyer in, but you're probably talking somewhere close to $500,000 for this home, right? And so it's up to you. If you like to have the convenience, we can bring you cash, close quick. If you're willing to go ahead and do some repairs or get it on the market, deal with showings, you're going to then realize that much more by putting it into the open market. So what's better for you?
Brilliant. What I'm hearing is, do you prefer convenience or money? Because it's unlikely you're going to get both. Do you prefer convenience? Sure, I can get you an off market. And even if you don't have the iBuyers in your market, there's somebody that's going to come and pay for that property at a discounted rate. That's convenience, no showing, no repairs. On the flip side, you prefer money. I can open you up to 10,000 agents and 200,000 consumers in this market. So we'll probably lead to more money, but here's what that looks like. So do you prefer convenience or money? And you put it back on them. We've got a few minutes left. I think we're hitting the majority of the questions. Jeff, you had those 10 points of how to win in a competitive market. There will be a link sent out to everybody after this. All of your contact info is going to be on there, so referrals can be sent. If folks got some people in your local markets they want to send her away, by all means, Kendall and I are both in Portland. Send them to her. She's a way better realtor. And with that said, Jeff, would you be kind enough to print or give us a copy of those 10 points of how to win? And Ojo staff could potentially get that as part of the attachment. We have had a few people ask for that.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
All right, I want to switch gears to referrals as we're wrapping up here in the last 5 minutes. There's phenomenal lead sources out there, with Ojo being hands down one of my personal favorites, period. And at the end of the day, I want to do an outstanding job for that client. I want to hand them keys or help them sell their property. And what I really want at the end of it is a lifelong, I truly mean this, 25 years in the industry, a lifelong relationship where they're giving me referrals, starting at the point of the transaction and going on for years to come. So Kendall, 100% of your business, 99% is repeat client referral. How do you make all of that come together? What is your script that you initially start in the process, probably working with them, asking for that first referral?
I let them know that I'm in the business to have clients for life. And I remember when I was taught that phrase, clients for life, I thought it was cheesy. But when you say it authentically and you've lived it as a realtor and you really do want to have them at for life. I was just telling someone this morning that I'm helping someone on their 5th home while I'm helping their daughter. You know, and it's like this generational thing. So we brought someone onto our team to now help the kids of our buyers our clients who we've been building for life. So what I let them know is that we care. We've built a team to make your process from A to Z smooth, seamless, educated, informed, and completely professional. So we're here with a load of vendors behind us, with phenomenal lenders, with phenomenal title company people. You know, just we have a crew behind us that helps us become, you know, helps us be the best that we can be for you as your broker. When we find that home, and then we ultimately close, we're not going anywhere. When I meet them for their closing gift, I say, this is now welcome to phase 2. That was just all phase 1. Phase 2 is now let us help you get settled into the neighborhood. Here's what's happening this weekend. We're going to send them flowers at 6 months. We're going to call them on their 1-year anniversary. We're going to track their kids, their birthdays, in an authentic way. I mean, I think that there's a fine line between being really cheesy and being super authentic. So when people know that you really care and you're reaching out at authentic times that means something to them, and you're really helping them find wise investments all day long, teaching them what's a great mortgage product, what is a great real estate investment, and why you didn't buy that corner lot at the entrance of the subdivision, and why you did pay that $25 lot elevation fee. All the way along, the history of all of those questions accumulates to just a beautiful relationship over time.
When you stay in relationship and have a system and a plan and you're authentic, the referrals appear. My easiest script throughout the transaction, and I'm a proponent of asking throughout the transaction at key wins. We won in a multiple offer situation. We successfully got the seller to come down $20,000 and give a credit, whatever it is. We were successful in negotiating a substantial repair. At those key moments, I'll just remind them my business greatly depends on the support of my past clients. If you run into anybody you know this thing about buying or selling real estate, it would mean the world to me if you'd recommend me, and I promise I'll give them the same outstanding service I gave to you. And we've trained ourselves and our teams to ask for those at the win moments, and we do have wins on every transactions, and we have challenges as well. And then to your point, Kendall, deep relation afterwards. We're going to wrap it up. We've got about a minute to 2 minutes left with another really important topic, which is reviews. Right, we are in a world where we pick our restaurants, we pick our hotels, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, people pick their real estate professionals based on reviews. So really quickly, what is your best system, Dave, Jeff, and Kendall? I'll start with Dave for getting reviews from a client. Best script.
Yep, we have the link prepared, a few examples, and we send it before closing. If you do it after closing, I think it's a bad idea, but somewhere around the clear to close, we're getting ready to sign, and to say same thing would mean the world to us if you can leave us a quick 5-star review. Here's a link and a couple of examples of what some other people have said, and just send it over. Just
Awesome.
ask, but make it easy for them.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I heard you say, I was reading some of the notes, is I do not like waiting till after closing. I don't like it because they're now super busy with moving and potentially remodeling. I want to ask for it during the transaction and again at closing, then again afterwards if necessary. But we have the vast majority of our repairs or of our reviews while on escrow. Mr. Quinton, how do you get reviews? Best script.
Yeah, so we use a Linktree link, and has all that in there. If you guys are aware what Linktree is, so you can put in your Google review, Zillow review, Facebook, all the links to where you need them to go to. So we use that link, send that link to them, then they can choose whichever place, whatever platform they want to put the review on. We also have it on our site, where it says, look at the reviews. It's real easy there. We can give them a link to our website, and then in there has the logos of Google, Facebook, Zillow, all that right there, right? So it's really easy and simple to send someone a link to get there. So number one. Number two is, we're going to send this to them pretty much in the beginning of the transaction. So we take their listing today, and once it goes live on the market, like this is the beginning of the relationship when things are really, really good, right? Before, anything might happen along the way with the problems. So you go under contract right now, the congratulations letter goes out like in the beginning once that gets going. So our closing manager is going to go ahead and send that link out to them. And basically same script, referrals are the lifeline of our business. Reviews right now, it's a review economy right now online. And most consumers today will go there online to see what we're all about. And it would mean the world to us, if you could give us a 5-star review, and right, and whichever one we're trying to work on at the moment. We may be trying to build our Google reviews up right now a little bit more than Zillow, whatever. We might just use those, right at that moment, depending on which one we're trying to build up. But that's it. We're typically going to do it at the beginning, and then if we don't get one, then yeah, throughout the transaction, at the highlights of the transaction, right? Once the buyers receive their mortgage commitment, hey, great news, Mr. Buyer or Mr. Seller, the buyer's got the mortgage commitment, we're clear to close, we're good to go. And hey, by the way, I know I sent you a link to the review. If you could just give us a review whenever you can, it would mean the world to us. So hitting them with the highlights of the transaction along the way. And then obviously post-closing, if we don't get it, then we're gonna ask for it again.
Great job, Jeff. Kendall, do you want to bring us home? We're 2 minutes over. Do you have a perfect script or process for getting reviews?
Yeah, during the clear to close, we ask for, we let them know we had, we're almost over the finish line. It's been such a pleasure to be working with you. We're going to send you a link to a Zillow review. We then, which they're really happy to. They're so excited at that time of the process, and we then go ahead, once they post it on Zillow, we go ahead and use that in social media. And really the message is, when we're meeting them with the keys, we basically say, we're thrilled to work with you. If you know of any friends or family who are ready to buy, ready to sell, we're right here. Would love to work with them as well.
Awesome. So you're going back to the referral at that point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 10:02 in Portland, Oregon. I want to give a tremendous round of applause to Dave Z, Jeff, Quinton, and Kendall. Thank you so much for being our amazing panelist. To the Ojo executive team, thank you so much for putting this together. And although she did not show up on screen today, I want the entire world to send Jenna, who did all the back end work, got all of this organized, was literally texting me at midnight her time last night to ensure we brought value. Send her some great thank yous via the airwaves, and let her feel amazing, because she's absolutely amazing. And we would not have pulled this off without Jenna. So thank you all so much. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Ojo.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.